I just saw recently a comment that came out on the weekend, and you have the Reddit crowd, similar, I suppose, to the crowd that came into the nickel market for the nickel squeeze. And there's been a couple interesting squeezes just last week. I don't want to name the company names on this interview, but there was a couple of noticeable ones. And there are groups of investors out there that think they could break the system and eventually, take it to the banks and take it to, the big players on the opposite side of the market and eventually, hopefully, convince them, to go somewhere else or maybe break them, whether that means breaking the COMEX or breaking the banks. I'm not exactly sure what that means. And I'm not sure if the normal guy in the street's even powerful enough to do it. You're talking about, a lot of money on that side of the trade. So if the government or the regulators don't want silver prices to go to $50, they seem to have been proven right many times that they can, change the pricing of these metals quite easily, as they continually do. Well, that's exactly why I've been so vocal. I come from a trading background, and many people who have listened to me know, that I was a trader, for the banks, back in the 80s. And, back then, we didn't have the computer systems that we do today. We didn't have the algorithms. We didn't have, the manipulation in the markets that we do today. And as the banks have got more influential and as technology has allowed them to, do some pretty astounding things in the marketplace. When you have a bank, let's call it, I don't want to pick on any bank because they're all the same, but, call it Bank of America, where they don't have a losing trade for 3 consecutive years. I think that was a stat I read a couple of years ago, or maybe it was 1 losing trade in 3 years or something. It's been a while since I looked at that stat, but whatever the actual number is, it's not natural. We all have losing trades. It's just a part of life. But, if you somehow don't have a losing trade for an extended period of time, you must somehow be, influential, or, I hate using the word manipulation, but, in fact, I think that's what it is. And, I think the miners, have to step up, and, we need to do deals directly with the end consumer. And just in a recent interview, I pointed at Elon Musk's investment in nickel, and his prior investment in lithium. And this could be the trend, because I think that, the consumers themselves are starting to worry about their supply, because, they're, just because the paper market in silver trades 1 billion ounces of silver a day, that doesn't mean the physical metal is available. It just means the banks and the manipulators behind the scenes are able to write that many contracts and trade among themselves or trade with the public and make these paper profits. And the metal never moves anywhere. It just, so it's a pretty ridiculous system. And as long as the miners just sit back and allow such a crazy system to price our precious metal that we, blood, sweat, and tears, get out of the ground and sell into industry, which is critical. Silver is a critical metal. I've called it a strategic metal a number of times. Supply is dropping and consumption is going up, and yet the miners just sit back and let this crazy paper market exist, and we just kind of fall into it. Well, we don't really use those markets ourselves. We have go-betweens or traders that have their own hedge books that they're financed by the banks, of course. So there is, I suppose, some modest risk. We've not experienced anything. In the 15 plus years that we've been, currently using the particular system that we're using, we've seen in silver, for example, when silver went from 18 to 30, back in March of 2020, it was 2021, pardon me, when we had the big Reddit squeeze. It was February 2021. The CFTC coming out and saying, we successfully tampered down the market because, there had been so much damage occurred if the metal prices or silver price would have been allowed to actually do what should have naturally, occurred. So they stepped in front of a natural market and intervened and changed the market and just stood there and sold every paper ounce of silver they could until the buying disappeared. And once the buying disappeared, then they smashed down the market. So everyone that bought that silver, expecting to see much higher prices, was basically screwed by the government, screwed by the regulators, and coercively trading, with the banks. Now, once again, we see a very similar type of action in the nickel market, where you have a very wealthy group of people that, are obviously very much involved in the nickel market, on the short side. As we, very similar situations, the silver market, and they got squeezed, and it was, lots of money at stake, and, it goes to show you, if you're a billionaire and you know the right people, they'll protect you, and not only will protect you, they'll actually change the rules to protect you. And everyone that bought nickel, over that period of time, were locked out of the market because they actually halted the markets, so you couldn't even get out if you wanted to, and they changed the rules anyway. So a lot of the trades were actually broken. These profitable trades that people would have expected to walk away with a nice little profit. Yet, of course, the loser would have been the billionaires and the banks behind it. And of course, we can't allow, these people to lose any money. It's got to be the small trader, the small investor, the speculative investor that's making what should be a correct decision. Those are the ones that always lose, it seems. And it's just a crazy system that, is in place. And the regulators just stand back, the governments just stand back, and they break the rules, and it just keeps happening. It's shocking.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar, and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.